My name is Alex Riley, and this is the story of my life. Now, in order for you to get the complete picture, I should probably start with...
the day that changed everything. As an only child growing up in Chicago, I had two major obsessions. One was inventing stuff. The other was Michael Jordan. Like I said, all of that was about to change.
Hey, honey, you know that pilot I've been seeing?
The one from LA? What about him?
He asked me to marry him.
What did you say? And just like that, I was forced to live in a house full of complete strangers. A house that happened to be smack dab in the middle of Laker country.
Turns out, that wouldn't be the worst day of my life. Not by a long shot. Abby, learn a lot today, okay?
Dad, where's my lunch?
Oh, boy. Leaving my daughter's lunch on the kitchen table isn't the bad thing I was talking about.
Sarah! Sarah! Sarah!
This is.
Sarah!
Well, at least when life hits rock bottom, things can't get any worse, right?
Wrong. When you're ranking life-changing days, it's hard to top the one where you almost died. But our life stories aren't defined by the things that happen to us.
They're defined by how we choose to deal with them.
Keep clapping. Clap until I say stop. Clap until I... Bobby, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you back. Congratulations on your show. This
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
Right here. I feel like Vanna.
So tell us, how did the show come to you? Like, they sent you the pilot and they said, we want you to be the star. It's you and John
That was it?
Larroquette?
Yeah. No, I
You didn't even read it. You're like, done.
Nope, I just said that looks nice. I like that light bulb. No, I read the script and I fell in love with it. Dan Kopelman, the writer, just wrote a really funny, beautiful script, and I fell in love with it.
Like an oddly daring one, too. I've caught the pilot, and it's a really, I don't want to say strange idea, because it's packaged in something familiar and really sweet, but it is it's a different idea. It's kind of out there for a family comedy.
Yeah, it's 3 different timelines. I play a guy named Alex Riley, who's an inventor, and you see him as a little kid when he is 14 years old, played by Jack Dylan Grazer from It fame now.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
He's in It. He plays the clown. No, I wish he did. And then
He doesn't play the bully. He's not the bully in It. That's
no, I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait. I think he's the one with the broken arm. He plays Eddie. He's amazing. He's absolutely phenomenal in this show. And I play Alex at 40 years old in the present time in 2017. And then John Larroquette plays Alex at 65 in 2042.
And now, is the setup for each episode, because in this one, it's like sort of the worst day of his life in each of these timelines, and you kind of see storylines from as a kid come back as an adult and sort of be weaved through middle age as well. Is each episode going to be like that, where each episode is based off of like a single kind of event?
Kind of. When I first saw the pilot, I was just like, well, this is an amazing pilot. I don't know how they're going to keep this going. But now we're on like episode 8 as far as shooting goes, and I think they get better and better. If you've seen the pilot, it kind of feels like it could be the whole series. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to it, but every episode kind of builds on that. The whole point of the show is it's this timeline. You're seeing this one man through his entire life, and we're kind of filling in the blanks of the timeline. So in the pilot, John Larroquette is a billionaire. He just had a heart attack, and he is moving on with his life. He has this brand new hope and fight for life, but you don't know how he got there. And when you see me, I'm 40 years old. My wife just cheated on me. I'm living in my friend's garage with my daughter. I'm not doing so hot. So we're filling in the blanks of how does he get from there to this invention that, makes him who he is and gives him the opportunity to kind of rebuild himself.
It really goes after this idea that we're sort of never really over the best and worst moments of our life, and we kind of keep reliving them and growing. As much as we grow, we kind of come back to this loop. consistently of our personalities.
Yeah, that's kind of what I love about it. You could have the greatest day of your life, and then where the ride home could be terrible. You know, I had this thought the other day. I just hosted the Muppet Show at the Hollywood Bowl.
Amazing.
It was quite possibly one of the best experiences of my entire life. I can't begin to explain. If you ever get a chance to host the Muppet Show, do it. It's really fun. It was just, those guys are so talented, and I've been such a fan of their work for my entire life. And to get to do that was pretty nuts. And then I got home, and I was just standing outside, and I was like, oh, I gotta do the garbage. I've never lived in a house before. I've always lived in New York in an apartment. So
You're in LA now?
So I was in LA, and I was like, I was just on stage in front of 18,000 people with Kermit the Frog screaming my name, and now I'm like, get this garbage out before the morning. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, it's what life is like. It's just like this amazing thing could happen, and then the next day, or the most mundane thing right after it.
Well, I imagine it's especially that way for people in the entertainment industry who've found some kind of success in the entertainment industry. There's always this idea, like some story that Bruce Springsteen tells about, like, you know, playing for an arena of 50,000 people and then coming home and his kids and family not being home in the house and him being like, hello? Is anybody here?
It's super bizarre.
Suddenly the mundane is really the thing that contracts you and affects you the most.
Sundays were super weird for like 10 years because you were like, oh, I was just riding on Tom Hanks's back last night.
Yeah,
Now
the
I'm going
after
to see
party.
my sister's kid. Like, you know, it's just like, it's always bizarre.
How many years did you do at SNL?
39. No,
Oh my
I
God,
wish.
unbelievable.
I wish.
You just missed the entire run of the show.
9 seasons.
9 seasons. And when you first start, you're contractually obligated to 7, right?
Yeah.
And what made you, after 9 seasons, decide that, you know, that it was time to move on?
A lot of things. I wasn't sure. I mean, like, after the 7-year contract was up, I signed on for another 2 years. I think at that point, I was like, I'll stay here forever. I still feel that way. I would go back and work there for, if this show doesn't work, I'm going to just grow a mustache and be Bobby Moynihan.
Well, I think with that sketch, we should change it.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's such a, I miss it already. It's such a, I was such a fan of it as a kid growing up, and getting to do it is the best. And you grow accustomed to it. In 9 years, the big problem I'm having now is I wake up on Mondays like, I have an idea. And I'm like, oh, I can't do anything with it. Like,
Ever email it to writers that you still know there or anything like that?
yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, I mean, the season hasn't started yet, but like, it's starting up now, and I'm starting to get the SNL nightmares. I wake up on that Saturday at 10:30. I'm just like, why is my stomach killing me? It just still happens. So it's ingrained.
Is it, or
Like a little honey bear. Sorry. That's what I feel like right now when I'm holding this mic. Weird.
is SNL like an outrageous amount of stress, or do you end up sort of getting accustomed to it and acclimating yourself to it?
No, never. 9 years, no, you're auditioning for a show you're already on every week. I think you start to hurt yourself less as far as like the anxiety and everything goes. It's everyone's like, it's so cutthroat, and so it's really not. It's just a lot of very, very smart, talented, funny, underslept people. But no, it never got easier. It should have. I mean, aspects of it did, but the side of trying to get stuff on, no. I mean, like my 9th season, 5th longest running cast member, I was still hard to get stuff on. Yeah. You know?
If you could go back and give yourself any sort of advice when you first got SNL, what would it be?
Just relax.
Really?
Relax, and don't do anything you want to do until like your 3rd or 4th year.
What do you mean?
I burned through, I wrote 60, 70 sketches, but before I even started, I burned through all of them before Christmas. And and it was just like this, and they're like, that didn't make it. And it's like, oh God, if I had waited a couple years, or if I had the patience to just wait a little bit till the audience knew me better, and Lauren knew me better, and these people, and just kind of went like, there you go. Now I'll do this. It was like more like, oh, we're not doing that one. We saw that one 100 times. Like, kind of, I would tell myself to relax.
Did last season, the season of Trump, I apologize. Yeah. Did it feel like more pressure or like more of a responsibility, or did you guys still try to be like, look, we're here to tell jokes, and what we're telling jokes now happens to be this?
I didn't feel the anxiety or pressure or whatever because I don't. There are people there that write the cold opens, and they're amazing at the political stuff. I pretty much just showed up whenever some chubby politician did anything, and I ended up playing them.
Christy, right?
Every time it was always two. It was like whenever we were on break, it would be like some fat white politician did something crazy, and I was like, well, I'm on break, so I don't have to do it. Yeah, I played Christy, a couple people. Newt Gingrich. I've played Newt Gingrich, I think, 10 times. I don't know if I've ever heard the man speak. That's how terrible I am at impressions, especially of politicians. It felt like a different year. It definitely felt like I was there for 9 years. It felt like 8 years of one place and 1 year of a different place. Like it was turning into something new.
Sort of a microcosm for the entire country.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everyone. I'll never forget that night when Dave Chappelle was there and Trump got elected. It was one of the weirdest days of work there ever. It was super bizarre. It was like everyone kind of was like, "Oh, this is going to be an amazing week. Dave Chappelle's here. Like, can you believe Dave Chappelle is here?" And we get to work with him, and he's so kind and wonderful, and he's down to do whatever. And then it was just like at 5 o'clock, everyone was like, "What's happening? What the hell's going on?" It felt really odd.
And then you guys wrote that there was that really great sketch about election night with Dave Chappelle,
Yeah.
Chris Rock, which I thought
Brian
was so
Tucker wrote that. Yeah.
yeah, so spot on.
I think.
And smart. I
Yeah,
thought.
genius.
Yeah. But it was a different place the night of the election. I mean, I think everywhere was. When we work here, and the day after the election, you came in, and it was like, heads down, and it was like, look, there are grief counselors here if anybody needs to.
Yeah,
it was like a really serious event.
I almost said it, and then
I'm
I was
not-
going to stop
I'm not
myself.
kidding.
Yeah, I almost said this, and then I was going to stop myself because it seems insane, but it felt like 9/11 a little bit. Like it was
That
just
you're-
like it just felt so. Everyone was so like it really happened.
Yeah.
It was pretty bizarre.
No, that's exactly. I mean, a lot of people were saying that, and it's one of those things that I think people, like you said, hesitate to say because of the event.
It
But
shouldn't
it really
be that
emotionally
tragic,
felt that way.
but it felt that way. It felt that way for some.
So you finish 9 seasons and you get this script, and now do you go to Lorne and tell him, hey, I'm gonna go. I want to go do
I
this.
kicked open his door and I said, "Peace." No, I wish. I wish.
And he responded the way he responds to everything, which is like.
And he said, "And who are you?" He said, "Thank you, Tommy. Have a good time." No, he's the best. He was wonderful about it.
Tommy.
Yeah. I think it was a weird thing. It was like I wasn't necessarily dead set on leaving. So when I got this script, I read it and I was like, this is a possibility.
How long ago did you shoot the pilot?
I think it was like right before, like in the break between my last couple SNLs. Right. So it was like we had 5 episodes left. We did 2. I went and I shot it, and then I came back and finished out the season.
If the pilot hadn't been picked up, would you have stayed with SNL, or was it?
I don't know. I mean, I probably, in the reality of it, yes, I probably would have. I would. There's part of me that still wants to go back, always. But I'm getting very sad that it's starting again. But I don't know. There's also a possibility that my life changed a great deal outside of it personally. So.
How so?
I'm going to space now. Sorry.
And Richard Branson.
Yeah. I got married. I had a daughter, and just a lot of things changed. SNL was my wife for a very long time, and now I have an actual one.
And this show probably allows you, even though it's single camera and the hours are fairly long, I'm sure it allows you a bit of freedom to go home and spend time with your family.
I hate saying this. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. My first day, I was in every single scene that they shot, and they were like, "We're so sorry." I'm like, "It's like a half day. This is nothing. This is like a 12-hour day. Like, are you kidding me? I have a very nice trip. Like, this is the easiest thing in the world compared to SNL."
But that said, at SNL, you guys do get a fair amount of weeks off and breaks and stuff.
Sure, but we really didn't. I mean, like, it didn't feel that way. September to May, it was just SNL. That's all you thought about. And even the weeks that you had off, no matter what, you have 2 weeks off, you're sick the first week, and the second week you're panicking, thinking of ideas for when you come back.
What is that panicking, thinking of ideas like? How many bad ideas do you end up throwing out?
753 million. Yeah, it was just, yeah, I mean.
You get to the writer's table, and do you have to sort of accept the fact that, like, I think probably when people first start the show, they're like, I got to bring my best ideas to every writer's, every what is the meeting called? The writer's meeting or the sketch meeting? Or
read through?
The
Or
read through,
yeah.
Everybody's reading through their sketches. Or do you come to terms with the fact, like, after your first season, like, I'm just coming with all the ideas that I have and seeing where it goes?
I think in the beginning you're just scrambling because there's no guidebook. There's no one. I wish there was, but there's no one at SNL who's like, let me sit you down and explain how this is going to go. It's pretty much just like, we all got on the show. Good luck, buddy. Like, you know, like not that hard, but like, you know, like they're not idiots
Like,
about
you had friends,
Yeah,
but
yeah. They were all very nice people. But no, I mean, yeah, you go through a lot. There's also the weeks, once you're there for a while, there's the weeks where you're tired and you had a great show last week or you got a lot of stuff on last week, so you're like, I don't really have to try that hard this week. So you hand in some dumb thing and then you're embarrassed if it gets no laughs and you feel like an idiot and you're like, oh God, I screwed up. Like, just because I did good last week doesn't mean I don't have to try this week. Or you hand in some dumb thing and for some reason they love it and then all of a sudden you're doing it. Like David Pumpkins. I was just like, what? Like,
Was David Pumpkins you?
Mikey Day, me, and Streeter Seidel.
Okay, so let's talk about David Pumpkins and how you got, like,
Always.
when you guys came up with that, were you like, that is so stupid, let's see what happens here?
It was
Or were
so
you,
weird.
like,
It was a
laughing
little.
together?
Me and Mikey Day work well together, and Streeter and Mikey are pretty prolific right now at SNL. They're absolutely phenomenal. They're responsible for a lot of the funniest stuff in the last couple seasons.
I think Mikey Day is going to be, like, in the next few seasons coming, he's going to be like a real hero of that cast.
I think he'll be in the vein of Amy Poehler, Will Ferrell, that kind of just he's at my time there he's easily the most prolific writer who can also act and do that stuff also. It's very rare that a writer gets on the show and is that amazing.
He has the ability too
phenomenal.
that I think great cast members have, which is he's extremely reliable in terms of who he gets cast as. So just like throw him in, and then he can also be like really weird and
he's a weirdo.
unique that, like, you know, sets him apart even after being very reliable.
Yeah, even before when he was still a writer, he was in a couple things. He's like one of the stormtroopers. We would always throw him in stuff because we were just trying to get him on the show. Like he's so talented. He's so funny. Does so many amazing impressions. He's really really good. But it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were just talking about how there's the SNL like Halloween specials. Like we were like, let's try and get something that they would play every year on one of those Halloween specials. So we just started talking. I think it was like started talking about like there's no Santa Claus for Halloween. So we were trying to come up with that, reverse engineer like what that would be. And he was like, what if his name was David Pumpkins? And we were just laughing at how stupid it was. And then we said I think I said David S. Pumpkins. It has to be. And I think it was just that easy. I think it was like, and we're two skeleton dancers. It started off, we wanted to like do some weird dancing bit. We saw that video. There's the video, the Indian guy just dancing to the music and the music stops. Oh, yeah. And we were watching that, just laughing, and we were like, let's steal that. So that was like the skeletons idea. And originally it was like in a haunted house. We showed up in paintings and we showed up in a bunch of different places, and then we tried to condense it. It was really making us laugh, just elevator doors. So we made it that. And the whole point of it is that there is no point. It was just, do you have any, and it's just that it was really confusing.
It's one of those wonderfully silly sketches that probably belongs in the last sketch of the show, but really took off and people
You'll
loved
see something
it.
soon, I think. I'm not allowed to say. But,
Oh yeah? I'm curious, how did Tom Hanks respond when you pitched it to him, and how did you pitch it to him?
Thought it was the most dumbest, ridiculous thing he's ever seen.
Like in a way that made him laugh, or like?
No, I don't think so. I know him pretty well from the show, and I was in a movie. His wife played my mom in a movie, and Rita is the absolute best. They're the kindest, most wonderful people.
Don't believe it.
Yeah, I know. I want him to be a murderer a little bit, Tom Hanks. It would be great. No, it wouldn't be great, but it would be entertaining for me and me only. No, he didn't. He was just like, this is stupid. This is really dumb. And he kept saying, at one point, there was talk of putting Lady Gaga in it as Mrs. Pumpkins. And he was like, no, I'm calling you out on this because the only reason you're putting her in this is so it doesn't get cut. Because usually if there's a celebrity cameo in it, it doesn't get cut. Because you don't have to tell that person. But he was kind of making fun of it the whole night. And then at Dress, it just did really well. It killed at Dress. And we all kind of looked at each other like, well, that worked by accident. And in between Dress and Air, he was like, Chris Hemsworth would make a great David Pumpkins. He's hosting next week. And he was kind of, I think it was half and half. I think he didn't know what to make of it. And I don't think we did either. I think we just got super lucky at the timing of it. It was like right before Trump got elected, and we had just done, like on the actual show, we had just done a couple political sketches, and I think people were starting to get bummed, and then all of a sudden, this dumb thing.
Was the Larry David sketch where he is the guy that says, "Can a bitch get a donut"?
Yeah,
was that a kind of sequel to David S. Pumpkins? Because it's very similar.
Mikey and Streeter wrote that as well. They kind of have this world that they're building like that. The Space Pants with Peter Dinklage.
Okay.
Just these weird characters that end up in a thing. One of my biggest regrets ever on SNL was that we cut my name. I was in the Can a Bitch Get a Donut sketch.
It's literally
Kevin
one
Roberts.
of my favorite
He says, my name is
sketches
Kevin Roberts, Can a Bitch Get a Donut? And I pop in later as like a friend of his who is trying to give him the donut. And my name was Danny Cartoons. And they cut it. I'm so mad we cut it. Danny Cartoons is the dumbest name ever.
They oddly remind me of something out of like a CD-ROM game in the mid-90s.
It's Mikey's brain, man. Mikey's just he's absolutely phenomenal at making you fall in love with a very, very stupid character, and he's also not selfish. A lot of people go through that place and they're like, I'm going to play this character. Easily could have written Kevin Roberts for themselves. Mikey was smart enough. Even now he's on the show, and he's still really, really good at going like, I'm going to give this to the host, or I'll play this tiny part, and I'll have my time. He's slow playing it.
Even though Larry David could barely make it through that sketch.
He loved it so much. That's what made me so happy about it, was how much Larry loved it. Because if you can make that dude laugh, you're golden.
What's your favorite sketch that you were in ever? 9 years.
Wow. I mean, it changes. It used to be that Beyonce sketch. I mean, that was like SNL in a nutshell for me. As far as like, on Tuesday, Keenan showed me the video of Single Ladies, and I was looking for something to do with Andy, and I was like, well, we could throw leotards on and just do this, kind of just write that, and it was just so weird how it all happened. We wrote it. I wrote it for me and Andy, and then we read it at the table with Kristen as Beyonce, and it did fine. It did okay, and Lauren kind of went, well, we don't know if Beyonce's going to do sketches, so we don't know. And that was kind of it. And then all of a sudden on Thursday, there was a knock on my door from Andy that was just like, hey, do you want to go talk to Beyonce? I think it was like my 8th show. I was like, no, I don't want to go talk to Beyonce. I want to stay up here and hide. But she couldn't have been sweeter. She was super nice about it. She looked like an angel. Side note, I never get to tell this part of the story, and it's kind of my favorite part of the whole story. When we were pitching it to Beyonce, one of her people, I don't know if it was like I don't know who she was. She worked with Beyonce in some capacity, was just sitting in the back corner and just kept going, hey, what if I was in the background eating a bagel? And it was kind of my favorite moment of the whole thing. And I'm mad that we didn't do it. I'm mad that we didn't have her in the background eating a bagel. Side note. But like, that was weird. It was just like all of a sudden Beyonce was like, I want to do it, but I'm doing these songs for the first time live. So can we pre-tape it? And Lauren didn't want to pre-tape it, and it was getting late in the week. So then it just kind of went away. And then 20 minutes later, Justin Timberlake shows up, and Andy had called Justin. And he showed up, literally showed up, put on a leotard, and walked into her dressing room and was like, come on. And she was like, all right. And then the next morning, I'm rehearsing with them out of nowhere on Saturday. We did it twice, once on air, and then it was on Entertainment Weekly the next day. And I was like, oh, I'm on Saturday Night Live now. That one was pretty nuts. But then since then, there's been a million. I mean, like.
But it's always the first one where you have that realization, like, oh, I'm doing this, that you probably hold on to, because eventually you're doing so many all the time, they kind of are, going in and out.
Yeah, I mean, the first episode was complete space camp, like blur, just sheer joy. 15-year-old Bobby cannot believe that I'm on this show and I get to do this. The second show was terrifying, and then all of the rest of them were terrifying after that.
What was your worst break? Did you ever break? I don't remember you being that much of a breaker on camera.
No, I was always pretty good about it. Jason got me once, Sudeikis, during one of the Scared Straight sketches. He used to jump up and sit on the desk, and he was just doing it to make us laugh, but he didn't. He did it. He gave it a little too much gas on one of them, and there was a cup of pencils on the desk behind him, and he just went butt first into like a bunch of pencils, and they kind of scattered, and he gave a little, and that was it. I was done on that one. Jason always, you would be walking on camera for a monologue, and like when you're first there, it's terrifying. Like, and he would always just go right into your butt, right as you were about to walk on camera, and I was like, damn it, Jason.
He strikes me as a kind of dick tapper guy.
I would say that. Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
gotcha, huh?
But yeah, try being absolutely terrified in front of millions of people on live television dressed as Newt Gingrich, and now you got a finger in your butthole.
Just like chewing gum and being like, "Hey, gotcha, buddy." Like,
yeah, but he was the best. He was very much. He felt like a mentor. He felt like somebody who could eventually run that show. He was very smart, very, very good, funny man.
What was your biggest, and I apologize, you may not want to talk about it, but what was your biggest embarrassment in terms of a sketch or performance? Did you have one where you're like, shit, that didn't go as I thought it would?
Sure. You never saw it. You never saw the light of day. I remember doing a sketch with Jay Farrow. Me and Jay wrote this sketch where we were two guys who worked in an office named Skippy and Toothpick. And I was just eating, I had, Hervé Villachez from Fantasy Island. I asked for his hair, so I just had like a weird bowl cut. And I was just eating Skippy peanut butter, and Jay just had a toothpick in his mouth. And we were two guys at an office. It was like Will Ferrell was hosting. And he was like, hey guys, we're all going to Dave & Buster's after work. Does everybody want to come? And he was like, Skippy, toothpick, you guys never come out with us. And it just cut to us standing in the corner. And we were super shy and weird, and we just kept asking if they were going to have good apps or something. It was so bizarre. It didn't work. We died at the end. I love
this sketch.
I think we died at the end of it, which is probably not a great idea if you want your characters to come back, is to kill them on the first one. I just remember Will Ferrell at the very end of the sketch being like, or at the very beginning of the sketch at Dress being like, well, this one's not going to make it, so we're just going to speed through this one. And I was just like, oh yeah, no, you're right. I'm not even angry. It was just the truth.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question? Right here.
Hi, Bobby.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I was just wondering, is it more creatively challenging to be one character for a long time now instead of like a ton of characters every week?
Good question.
Sure, yeah, I guess it is. It's hard. What I'm finding hard is trying to find the connections to Jack and John, because I'm playing one person, but so are they. So we're trying to we're never on camera together. So to make that seem like one person is pretty interesting. But yeah, SNL was very do this dumb, crazy thing as quickly as possible, as funny as possible, get out and move on.
Well, I was wondering if that's like, you've been in movies since you've been on SNL as well, so I'm sure you know how to do this, but recalibrating how you perform as well for something like this that requires a little more naturalism and groundedness versus what you were doing every week at SNL.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I notice when I'm doing this is I'm terrible at memorizing lines because I've been on cue cards for 10 years, and I find myself talking at this level a great deal in this show. I find myself bringing it down a bit because John Larroquette has a very deep voice, and it's so weird because that's the opposite of SNL. SNL, if your line is "thank you," it's like "thank you." Like you have to project, and you're in a live studio audience, so like you feel like you have to do that. So this feels very. I feel like I'm truly acting, but I'm really just kind of being quiet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next question.
Hi.
Hey.
I know you have a background in improvisation. How much did you get to integrate that into Me, Myself, and I?
A lot, actually. The writing is so wonderful. Usually how it goes with Me, Myself, and I is we do 2 takes of what's scripted, and then kind of like, I get to do a lot of stuff with Jaleel White and Brian Unger. Brian Unger might be one of the funniest people in the world. He just really gets me. Have you ever seen Live at the Purple Onion, the Zach Galifianakis thing where Brian is interviewing Zach Galifianakis' fake brother Seth? It's one of my favorite things in the world. He's just so funny, and he's a great improviser. So, yeah, whenever we can, we try to. Me and Jaleel hit it off super well right off the bat, and
You just didn't make any Urkel jokes right off the bat, so
I
he got
didn't.
along very-
I didn't for a very long time. I kind of wanted him to bring it up first.
Has he yet?
Oh, yes, it's so much of his life. It's impossible not to. It's like when we first started doing press for this show. He was like, "Get ready to talk about SNL and Steve Urkel for a while," and it's true. But it's such a beloved, iconic character. But I think he handles it in such a perfect way. There's no disdain for it. There's almost a respect for it, but it's not something that he brings up to brag. It does come up. Also, I think when we were shooting the pilot, he knocked something over and said, "Did I do that?" But he didn't say it in the Steve Urkel voice, but I was kind of like, he kind of said it. But
Do you ever go over to him with like a plate of cheese and are like,
no,
Jaleel?
I do have a Urkel doll that I want him to sign that I haven't brought into work yet.
do you really?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Not an
too.
idiot.
It's a collector's item.
Yeah,
Hello.
Hello, it's still in the box.
I think we have time for one more question right here.
Hi, so you mentioned on the show that your character is an inventor. Is there anything that you wish to have invented or would have liked to?
Anything I wish I would have invented? Cars. No.
You gotta be here promoting this little show, huh?
The internet. Sure. I don't know if this exists or not, but this is a long, weird way of going about it. You know on Halloween, the skeletons, the cardboard skeletons you put on your door, and they have those little rivets, those little just like things in their arm that make them go like that. I always wondered if you took those and put them on a tape measure, like just those little rivets, so you could make angles, so you could have a tape measure.
Not bad.
That's my invention. I've also always wanted a belt that plays theme music and maybe like smoke, so when you enter a room, you can enter.
But wait, if the belt
that.
smokes, like when you enter the room, is it already? Can you set smoke in there? Because then
Look,
you're
man,
just gonna come in.
we're just spitballing here.
Because then you're just gonna come in and the smoke's gonna start, and people go, "Why is there smoke coming out of your way?"
It's like Data from Goonies, I assume. It's just I just want a cool belt, man. That's it. I don't know. We'll talk when
both of these are doable.
Yes, I'll go to Shark Tank with you.
Bobby, it's a pleasure having you here. Thanks so much.
Thank
for
you
being
so much
here.
for having me.
Me, Myself, and I is it premiere tonight on CBS? Or is
Monday,
it
September 25th at 9:30.
So next Monday, September 25th
a week
at
from today.
9:30. Bobby Moynihan, everybody. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, guys.